You lock your front door, turn off the lights, and slip under your warm blankets, feeling completely safe in your quiet room. But for 99% of human history, a dark night meant something totally different. Imagine lying on the cold, hard ground with no walls, no doors, and no roof, listening to the heavy breathing of massive killers moving through the dark grass right outside your reach. Our ancestors had to face the terrifying dark with nothing but their bare hands and a weak body, knowing they were the favorite prey on the planet. So how did those helpless people actually survive the worst monsters nature ever built? The real answer will completely change everything you think you know about human evolution, our deep survival instincts, and the true meaning of being a human being. Let us pull back the curtain on a forgotten world where the rules of life were turned upside down. To truly understand how we beat the odds, we have to look closely at the cold, hard tracks left behind in the ancient dirt. For a long time, we told ourselves a beautiful lie, a story where humans were born to rule, entering the world as the ultimate masters of the wild. But the deeper we dig into the earth, the more that proud story falls apart, showing us a reality that is much more terrifying and humbling. In the year 1924, a scientist named Raymond Dart pulled a small, heavy skull out of the rock at a dusty site in South Africa. This was the famous Taung child, the remains of an early human ancestor who was only about 3 years old when their life came to a sudden, violent end. When Raymond Dart looked closer, he did not find the clean marks of a tool or the signs of a heroic battle. Instead, he saw 2 deep round holes punched clean through the bone of the eye sockets. Those marks perfectly matched the sharp, heavy front teeth of an ancient leopard. That helpless child was not a proud hunter. They were not a master of the land, they were just a meal. For millions of years, this was the real story of our kind because we were not the ones doing the tracking, we were the ones being tracked. The ancient world was crowded with apex killers that had spent millions of years evolving for one single purpose: to track down and destroy large mammals. Imagine sharing the dark paths with Smilodon fatalis, the terrifying saber-toothed cat that tipped the scales at over 600 pounds. This beast was not built for a long, playful chase. It was built like a heavy military tank, carrying 11-inch canines designed to punch straight through the thick necks of bison. It hid perfectly in the tall grass, waiting near the quiet water holes where our ancestors had to drink. And then it exploded forward at 30 miles an hour. One single crush to the throat, and the struggle was over before it even started. And that cat was just one of the many nightmares waiting out there in the open fields. In North America, an even bigger monster ruled the land, the short-faced bear, known to modern science as Arctodus simus. When this massive creature stood up on its back legs, it reached 12 feet into the sky, weighing a shocking 2,000 pounds. While the bears we see today are happy to eat sweet berries or fish, the short-faced bear was a hypercarnivore, a creature that ate meat and only meat. Its long, strong legs were built for heavy endurance, running allowing it to hit top speeds of 40 miles an hour. If those giant eyes caught your movement across the plain, your life was pretty much over right then and there. Even if you managed to find a high place to hide from the bears and the big cats, the night belonged to the cave hyenas. These beasts were much larger and heavier than any modern hyena, and they packed a crushing bite force of 1,100 pounds per square inch. To understand how insane that is, your own bite force today is only a weak 162 pounds. A cave hyena did not just eat the meat, it crushed your thickest bones to dust, just to suck out the rich marrow inside. They did not travel alone, they hunted in coordinated packs of 20 or more running down their targets with a relentless rhythm. They did their finest work in the pitch black, running and laughing in the dark when early humans were almost completely blind. Every single corner of the planet was a death trap from modern Europe to the deep forests of Asia. Dire wolves ran in massive packs of 30 cave lions, grew 25% larger than modern African lions, and giant birds in South America used heavy, sharp beaks to shatter skulls with a single blow. By every biological standard, humans were completely naked, slow, and totally outmatched. A modern chimpanzee, our closest living cousin in the wild, is 3 times stronger than an adult human being, has sharp fangs, and can scale a 30-foot tree in a couple of seconds. Yet, even with all those physical gifts, wild leopards still catch and eat chimps on a regular basis. We were much slower than chimps, much weaker than chimps, and we could not see an inch ahead of us in the dark. We could not smell a predator coming from a distance. Our hearing was completely average, and our upright walk made us stand out like a bright signal fire on the flat plains. To make things even worse, our human babies cried loudly for months, telling every killer in the area exactly where to find an easy meal. We had no thick fur to protect us from the freezing cold, no sharp claws to tear through skin, and no venom to defend our families. By all the rules of nature, our species should have disappeared into the dirt within a few thousand years, becoming nothing more than a weird, failed experiment in the history of life. Yet every single monster on that terrifying list went completely extinct while we are sitting here building cities and staring at screens. Our turnaround did not happen overnight, and it did not happen because we suddenly grew big muscles. It started with a tiny spark that changed the laws of nature forever: the discovery of fire. Deep inside Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, archaeologists dug through the ancient dirt and found the clear remains of controlled fire dating back 1 million years. They found burnt bones, heavy ash layers, and stone hearths where early humans gathered. Fire gave us our very first shield against the dark, because a simple campfire builds a wall of safety about 30 feet wide. Wild predators carry an ancient hardwired fear of flame deep inside their brains, a survival program that tells them to never cross into the light. Even today, the wildest lions in Africa will stop dead in their tracks if they see a burning branch. Fire gave us clear vision when the sun went down, and it kept our fragile, hairless bodies warm in freezing weather. But the most beautiful gift of fire was that it bought us time. Before we tamed the flame, the moment the sun touched the horizon, you had to find a dark hole, freeze in place, and pray you did not make a sound until morning. With fire, we suddenly gained 3 or 4 extra hours every single night. We used those quiet hours to talk, to share secrets, to design better tools, and to think. Fire also let us cook our food, which meant we could digest meat with much less energy, sending a massive wave of new calories straight to our heads. That extra energy is exactly what allowed our species to grow huge, complex brains, turning us into master problem solvers. But fire alone was not enough to save us from the predators. We also had to change the way we moved across the earth. We could never win a short sprint, since a saber-toothed cat could hit 30 miles an hour in just 3 seconds, while we top out much lower and tire out instantly. But we possessed a weird physical power that no other predator on Earth could match. We could jog for hours under the hot sun without stopping. We developed a unique method called persistence hunting, where we did not try to catch an animal with a burst of speed. Instead, we just walked and jogged after it, tracking its steps through the heat of the day, keeping it moving when it desperately needed to rest. We would follow a target for 4, 5, or 6 hours straight. The animal would run away, stop to breathe, see us coming, and have to run again. Quadruped animals cannot sweat through their skin. The way we do, they can only cool down by panting, but they cannot pant while they are running for their lives. Eventually, the animal's internal organs would simply boil, and it would collapse from total heat stroke. Our ancestors would then simply walk up and finish the job with a heavy stone. We turned our sweaty, hairless bodies into a slow, unstoppable machine that wore down the toughest beasts on the planet. At the same time, our growing brains unlocked a third weapon: pattern recognition. We learned to read the dirt like a book, understanding that a bent twig meant a beast had passed by, or scraped ground meant a predator was digging. We studied their lives, learned their hunting hours, and figured out exactly when they were weak. We discovered that saber-tooths stayed near the rivers at dusk, that giant bears lived alone, and that hyenas hated the light. We remembered every single encounter we told stories around the fire, and that life-saving knowledge grew heavier and stronger with every generation that followed. But if you look past the fires and the clever tracking tools, you stumble upon the real secret to our survival, a truth that has nothing to do with killing. We often think our ancestors won the wild because they became the meanest, most dangerous monsters on the plain. But the broken bones buried deep in the dirt tell a completely different story. In the year 2001, at a quiet dig site called Dmanisi in Georgia, archaeologists uncovered a human skull that was 1.8 million years old. It belonged to an old human ancestor who had lost every single tooth in their mouth years before their life finally ended. In the harsh laws of the wild, a toothless predator is a dead predator, because if you cannot chew meat or tear apart raw roots, you starve within a single week. Yet this vulnerable person lived for years in a world full of giant cats and massive bears. They survived because someone else in the tribe went out, gathered the food, brought it back and chewed it for them. Someone spent their extra hours cooking the food soft, feeding them by hand, and keeping them safe from the horrors of the dark. We see this same beautiful truth again inside Shanidar Cave in Iraq, where researchers found the remains of a Neanderthal man from 60,000 years ago. His body was a map of deep suffering, showing a badly crushed arm, a blind eye, and severe joint pain that made walking a struggle. He could not hunt, he could not run, and he could not fight off a cave lion. Yet, his group carried his heavy weight across rough lands for decades, keeping him alive until he reached old age. This was our true superpower, the one thing no animal could ever match. We did not just cooperate to kill, we cooperated to care. We wrapped our weakness in deep love, and that connection made us unstoppable. When we finally built the Schöningen spears in Germany 400,000 years ago, it was not because we loved violence. It was because we loved each other, and we refused to lose another child to the dark. Now take a deep breath and look at your own busy life today. Do you ever find yourself staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, your heart beating fast for no clear reason? Do you feel a deep wave of anxiety when you walk into a crowded room full of strangers, or worry constantly about mistakes at your job? You might tell yourself that you are weak, broken, or not cut out for this fast modern world. But the science shows a beautiful truth, because you are not broken at all. That heavy stress in your chest is just the ancient survival software of your ancestors running inside your veins. Your brain still thinks those old predators are waiting in the dark shadows, and it is simply trying to keep you alive. Your ancestors passed down their deep fears, but they also passed down their capacity to love, protect, and care for each other. You are the living victory of a million vulnerable people who stayed together to beat the dark night. If this story brought you some comfort and helped you look at your daily struggles in a new light, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Let us build a peaceful space where we can understand our minds and find our true purpose together. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself, and I will see you next time by the fire.